Hi everyone, and thank you for joining me for another edition of Foodie Friday. I'm Karina, also known as Chill, and you're watching my channel, Chill With Me. And today, I'm gonna teach you how to make a really quick and easy, but delicious vegan Fettuccine Alfredo. And my Alfredo sauce does not contain any dairy or sugar, gluten, soy. It's just going to contain nutritional yeast and coconut milk amongst some other seasonings, and it really does taste delicious. I haven't had Fettuccine Alfredo in probably over 10 years, and that's just because I know what's in the Alfredo sauce, and I didn't know really a good way to make it vegan style. Up until recently, I thought about using the coconut milk, and it turned out really good. And I don't need a lot of pasta, so we're going to use a gluten-free fettuccine noodle for the pasta today. You can definitely use zucchini noodles. You can definitely use regular noodles if you're not gluten-free, so there's no restriction on that. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. And today our ingredients are going to be 3 tablespoons of grapeseed oil. I have 4 tablespoons of chopped garlic. We have a 1 3/4 cup of the coconut milk. And I also have 4 tablespoons of arrowroot flour. And what it's going to look like, arrowroot flour is a really good thickener for your sauce and for baking. And this is what the label looks like when you go get it from the health food store. You can definitely use any other flour. If you're not gluten-free, you can use all-purpose flour. If you are gluten-free, the arrowroot is really good. You can also use gluten-free flour. It's just a matter of getting the sauce thick for you. Alright, and so it's really, really simple. Let's go ahead and get started. I already have my pot boiling for the noodles. So we're going to go ahead and just turn on the skillet, and we're going to go ahead and put in the 3 tablespoons of grapeseed oil. Alright, and then we're going to let that heat up, and once it's heated up, we're going to go ahead and add the garlic, and we're going to saute it so it doesn't burn. We're just going to kind of stir it around, and then we'll go ahead and add the flour. I mentioned earlier that it's 4 tablespoons. I actually use about 4 large garlic cloves, which kind of turned out in between 3 and 4 tablespoons. Okay, you guys, it takes about 2 minutes for the garlic to brown, and now we're going to go ahead and add in the arrowroot flour. Okay, and at this point, you're going to go ahead and turn down the heat to low, and you're going to go ahead and just whisk this all around. Okay, so now that the flour and the garlic is all mixed together, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start adding our coconut milk. But we're going to do it about a 1/4 cup at a time. And during this time, we're going to go ahead and continuously whisk it. And what we're doing here is we're thickening the sauce. And we're going to go ahead and just keep adding the milk about a 1/4 cup at a time until you use all the milk. And then once the milk is used, then you're going to go ahead and let it cook for 2 minutes. And you're going to be whisking continuously for those 2 minutes, just so nothing gets stuck and you're getting the clumps out. Okay, so the milk is all done, and we're just going to go ahead and let it cook. Alright, you guys, the milk has cooked for the 2 minutes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and transfer this over to a blender where we're going to add the rest of our seasonings. Alright, see, it's all in the blender. Alright, so what we're going to throw into the blender, I'm going to go ahead and just turn this over slightly here. 5 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. We're going to go ahead and throw that in there. I have a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and you guys can season the salt and pepper to taste. And then what I also do is I add another teaspoon of dried basil, and I have fresh basil as well, and I chop it up, and it is about 4 tablespoons worth. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and blend that up until it's nice, creamy, and smooth. All right, guys, so we just blended up the sauce, and what we're gonna do is after it's blended, we're gonna go ahead and transfer it back over to the skillet. Smells so good. Okay, so the reason we're adding it back to the skillet is because it's gonna thicken even more. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and cook it on medium until it starts to bubble, and then we're gonna reduce the heat to low and cook it for another 2 minutes or so until it's thickened. All right, you guys, so the sauce is just about done, and now we're gonna go ahead and add our noodles to the pot and let it boil for about 10 to 15 minutes. The gluten-free noodles do take a little bit longer than just regular noodles, and even though they appear to be soft, while you taste it to see if it's done, like after 10 minutes or so, it can still be a little bit rough. So I would just let them cook for maybe about 15 minutes until they're ready, and we're gonna go ahead and get started on that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and let those boil. And just to show you guys the gluten-free noodles that I'm using, I got these ones at Safeway. I do get other ones from the health food store as well, so it's really just a matter of what your local store has. There's no particular brand that you require, and the reason I'm cooking the whole package is because this can actually be a good food prep meal. You know, it'll keep for about 2 or 3 days. Okay guys, now I did mention earlier in the video that I'm going to be using portabello mushroom as my meat for the pasta. You can definitely use chicken or shrimp, as I mentioned earlier, any other type of meat that you would prefer. Now it might take a little bit longer to cook your other meat than it will do the mushrooms, but that's totally okay. You just have to time it correctly. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and transfer the sauce, and I'll show you how it's gotten thicker. We're just going to transfer this over to Tupperware until the pasta is ready. So I think you guys can see how thick it's gotten. Alright, and then I'm going to use the same pan to cook the mushrooms in. The sauce is so good. In my opinion, it takes me back to the Alfredo days when I was eating fettuccine Alfredo. Add a little bit more oil to the pan for mushrooms. Portobello mushrooms are a little bit larger, so they're going to take a little bit more oil. And just to show you, I cut them lengthwise. You guys can see that, because it's going to look like chicken when it's on top of my pasta. So we're going to go ahead and let those saute for about 3 to 4 minutes until they're ready, and then we're going to go ahead and assemble our pasta. Alright you guys, so now we got the noodles done, the sauce is done, the mushrooms are done. I'm going to go ahead and start assembling the pasta now. So I just drained the pasta. We're going to go ahead and just put it into a mixing bowl. You can see it's still steaming, so it's super hot. Now you can do the pasta one of 2 ways. You can either pre-mix the sauce and mix it all the way through, or you can do it individually when you are ready to make your next meal for the next day. Alright, so let's go. Oh, so yummy, so creamy. Alright, so if you guys can see, I'm starting to just mix everything in. It's already looking like a fettuccine Alfredo. The reason it's not white and it's green is because I used the basil. So if you don't use the basil, it will come out more of a white color sauce. So creamy. So delicious. I also have sliced up some tomatoes because I like tomatoes in my pasta. So I'm going to go ahead and mix those in as well. Alright, let's plate our pasta. A few tomatoes in there. Gonna top it with our mushrooms. And you guys, we have some fettuccine Alfredo. Alright, guys, really try this recipe. I hope you really enjoy it. Let me know if you have any feedback or comments. please feel free to leave 2 thumbs up below if you like this video. And until next time, next week Friday, I hope you guys all enjoy your week, and kisses.